claimed to be the best ever to have played tennis. But he hasn't played since his 4th Wimbledon victory. Now, Pete Sampras turns his attention to the summer hardcourt season and the 7th stop on the Mercedes Super 9 Series here in Cincinnati. The question now becomes, can Pete Sampras resume his dominating run? We'll find out. Sampras live coming up next on ESPN. Rafter played Sampras at Philadelphia in February. The tennis was fabulous, played at warp speed almost, serves exceeding 130 miles an hour to knock the racket out of your hand, clever drop volleys and cruelly angled shots. Sampras and Rafter had to use all their shots when they played in the final. When it was over, it took a great effort from a great player to challenge the champion, but Sampras stood tall. He'd been down a set in 2 games to love, but Sampras was champion again. The scope of tennis is truly international. The game played and watched from St. Petersburg, Russia to Santiago, Chile. This is the Great American Insurance ATP Championships from Cincinnati, one of the Mercedes Super 9. And Pete Sampras of the USA today in our feature round of 16 match takes on Patrick Rafter of Australia. Hello and a warm welcome, everybody. Cliff Drysdale, next to the fiery one, Fred Stolle. We're in the press room here at the ATP Championships, and it is from here that this worldwide message of tennis really is sent all over the world. Fred, it's a great field here in this championship. You know, when you look at the draw today, there are 16 players left. All matches involve a top 10 player. Let's take a look at the draw.
They feature a top 10 player, and Paul Flory's done another great job. Just look at that draw there. Our feature match today is Sampras and Rafter, and then you go down. Costa's through. He took out Karecha. Karecha seeded number 4. A little bit of a surprise there. Yuri Novak, unseeded, went out. He took out Shalkin. He's going to do battle today against Bruguera.
Then you have Thomas Muster. He beat Martin Dam today. Spadia and Kurtan. That results shortly. Michael Chang, the number 2 seed, takes on Andrei Medvedev. Getting back, Fred, to our feature match today, Pete Sampras has been just about unbeatable. He's won 2 Grand Slam championships this year, just didn't win the French.
Well, I think he's a level above everybody at the moment, Cliff. The way he played at Wimbledon, he got into the 2nd week. I thought he was going to struggle at Wimbledon, but any time Sampras gets into the 2nd week, you know he's playing well. He's come here, he's fresh, he's ready to go, and boy, I think it's a tough one for Patrick Rafter.
And then how have things changed in Australia with Philippoussis and Rafter playing Davis Cup for you guys? Here is Patrick Rafter, who is now one of the top contenders in the world. What's happened in Australia, Fred?
Well, I'm looking for a great match. We've got a good Davis Cup team there now. Philippoussis has not lost a little bit of confidence at the moment, but Patrick Rafter has gained confidence. He's semi-finalist at the French, and he believes he can play with these boys. He's played some great matches with Sampras. I think it depends on Rafter's return of serve, strangely enough. He's got to get that Sampras serve back, because if he doesn't, you know Sampras is eventually going to get to his.
Well, we'll find out. Fred, you know, I kind of like this looking down on you. It gives me the right feeling. Anyway, we talked to Patrick Rafter, and he has a few thoughts on just how things have changed for him in a good way.
I guess all the hard work I've done over the last couple of years is starting to pay off. Change of attitude a little bit as well, just a bit more relaxed. I think that's really helping.
The Mercedes Super 9 is played in cities around the world. It stopped in Cincinnati this week during ESPN's Summer of Love. This is the first game of the match. 15 love. Sampras serving to Rafter. Obviously, we did that open just before we got on the air today. We didn't know the Querten result. You saw it live here when we came on the air. Gustavo Querten is through to the last 8, taking out Vince Spadia of the USA. We're at the Great American Insurance ATP Championships, a Mercedes Super 9 event. Cliff Drysdale here, Fred Stolle. Fred, this has been a very nice day's tennis so far, and it looks to continue.
You had Rios out there in the early stages against Kafelnikov, and they've started a new thing here at the ATP Championship. They get some of the sponsors to come out and toss the coin for the serve toss in the main matches on center court. And it was the folks from Sprint that came out here today with Pete Sampras, and the young lass that tossed the coin up went up, and the first one didn't work out too good. So Sampras said, hey, that wasn't a very good toss. You better do it again. So up in the air it went again before he won the toss for the serve.
Sampras at 40-15. That's a great return from Rafter. He started out very well against Sampras in Philadelphia. Indoor, relatively fast court. I would say about not that much faster than this surface, as a matter of fact. And then Sampras came back and won it, as we showed you. In
different conditions, though, indoors to this, though, isn't it? You don't have the problems with the elements, where the sun is, how much wind is blowing, how hot it is.
But that doesn't really help or hurt either one of these
no, it doesn't.
guys.
No, it doesn't hurt. Shouldn't hurt any of them. It's pretty much perfect conditions.
That is wide. Deuce.
Pretty good passing shot there from Rafter. He can slice the backhand and come over it. The return forced Sampras to play more of a defensive volley, and Rafter went after it with the topspin backhand.
Sampras played his first match last night, and he destroyed Justin Gimelstob, who was taking out Byron Black in the first round. 6-2, 6-4. Patrick Rafter, meanwhile, over David Wheaton in the last round, and Patrick Rafter seeded 16 beat Magnus Larsson in the first round. Game point, Sampras coming up. He's a very offensive player. I suppose they both are, but I would say that Rafter will see at the net more often than Sampras will.
I think he chips and charges a lot more than Sampras does, yeah.
He nearly chipped and charged his way to a French Open title. He lost to Sergi Bruguera in the semi-finals, but it was a tremendous effort. Pete Sampras, 1 game to love, first set. We are live in Cincinnati. ESPN and the ATP Tour proudly present today's coverage of the Great American Insurance Championship, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the company that symbolizes 110 years of experience and a new attitude. And by Circuit City. Hurry into Circuit City today. You can't get a better price. We guarantee it.
In the beginning, you just love to play. You're a kid, and it's a game. Then the forehand gets stronger, serve starts to pop, and the expectations grow. But you still love to play. Because you're a kid. A 26-year-old kid. And it's a game.
Pete Sampras playing his first match in a month yesterday, and today his second. The #1 player in the world, coming off his 4th Wimbledon win in 5 years. So he's lost 1 match in the mother of all tournaments in 5 years. Patrick Rafter's 24. He's one of 9 children. And he has a place in Bermuda. And
in Australia. But he's got enough to put a few meals on the table now. They used to fight for their meals.
The 9 of them.
Most of the boys, yeah. Are a good group of fellas.
I think he was number 6 in line, and his mom said, I just like children. As for Pete Sampras, you know, we talk about him now, maybe the best player that ever played, and I'm not sure that there are a lot of people who would argue with that. He's 25 years old. He calls Tampa home now. Spent a lot of time out in California in his formative years.
Not bad.
Yeah. Buy a few dinners with that.
27 million career prize money, and that's without endorsements, exhibitions, all sorts of other stuff.
Double that at least?
I would say
more.
triple it.
Endorsements for players who, when you play a tennis match, there are just 2 of you on the screen. It's not like there are 22 of you. in a team sport, very visible, very famous, these guys become very quickly. Through the magic of Tiwi, as Boris Becker calls it. Mentioned 7-5 in the third set against Larson, and then David Wheaton. Nice to see him back on.
Yeah, David Wheaton's back again, and that was a good match. Took it to Rafter until the third set. He likes the fast courts. You'll hear from him a bit more as the summer continues.
Rafter is the third youngest of 9 children. That makes him the 6th, right?
Yeah.
Well, my math is okay.
Pretty good, yeah.
Game point to Patrick Rafter. And, you know, we were talking yesterday about a pure serve and volley player. Fred and I speculated about forgetting about Rafter. He's a pure serve and volleyer.
Yep.
He did it on clay.
Did it on clay, yeah. Not too many people expected him to get that far at the French because of the way that he has, the strokes that he has, the way he produces those strokes.
For a lot. I mean, if you're going to serve and volley on second serve, you obviously have got to go for a lot, and it's going to cause some trouble. Like double faults. That's wide, nice, interesting. He stays back, and what's the first thing that Sampras does? Come into the net.
Yeah, and then Rafter played a couple of good shots there. A roll backhand cross court that Sampras had to stretch for. What's this one here? Sampras comes in. Here's the roll backhand, takes a lot of pace off it. Good stretch, but Rafter's on the move, and the volley nearly got behind him. He got the forehand just in a tough spot. Sampras missed it.
Game point, Rafter, 1 game to love Sampras. We're in the first set. This is live coverage of the Great American Insurance in Mason, Ohio.
Good volley right down the middle of the court there from Rafter.
Tell you that the man, Pete Sampras, has got a lot more experience than Patrick Rafter, as this shows you. 535 match wins in his career. 533 makes that 48 titles. That's extraordinary. And you can see he has more wins, really. And take a look at this. Fred, do you agree with this?
You had your glasses on when you were trying to read that, too, at 533. You still, yeah, no, Sampras 45-5 career.
What about the calling the volleys of Rafter his weapon? What about the serve? I think he serves well, too.
As you said, he's a serve and volley player, and I think the big thing here is his return. He feels he has to serve well in this particular match, but if he doesn't get the Sampras serve back, like, that's not going to do it, that shot there. It's too high, but he's going to chip and charge it pretty much on every second serve. But he's got to keep the ball down low.
Analyze this one, Fred.
Well, we've talked about this. He holds the racket down there for the very last moment, but look at that arm. It stays up until he's 3 parts way through the swing, and then he generates the pace from the top of the swing, acceleration at the top of the swing with the head of the racket.
Yeah, when you compare that with Patrick Rafter's serve, and we will show you a slow-mo replay of his, Rafter just puts the racket straight up, and it's a very different motion to Pete Sampras's. 40 love. Game to Sampras. The players will change ends. No breaks. 2-1. We're live in Cincinnati. Great day's tennis, everybody. I hope you will sit back and relax and enjoy it alongside us. 2-1. Sampras. Rafter to serve here at the Great American Insurance ATP Championships. If you're a soccer fan, and there are more and more of them in the great United States, aren't there? Ecuador and the United States from Baltimore, Maryland. Tonight at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the U.S. soccer team continuing their quest for World Cup greatness. Pete Sampras dominates the world of tennis. He stands atop this tennis world, and all he is challenged by the rest of the field. Now, he's lost some pretty dismal matches this year, but not many. He's won 2 of the 3 Grand Slams that have been played.
Quote of the week came from Justin Gimelstob, who Sampras destroyed last night. He said if he maximizes his game and playing up to his potential, he says, he said, I'd like to see him play God. Good net coverage there from Rafter. He knows what it's all about up there. Good footwork, stutter step, racket out in front. Good shoulder turn when he dives over to the left for the backhand volley. Very fit young man. Gavin Hopper in charge of our Davis Cup fitness.
Our meaning Australian.
A couple of the boys now, and Muddy Waters also with the Woodies. Brett Stephen, another one of the trainers that travel around with the players. All do a fabulous job. They've got the Australian boys all in good nick.
They're all almost all ex-football, football players? What do you call them?
Australian rules, yeah.
Rafter has a game point, 40 love. That's why Sampras, going into that match that he played with Patrick Rafter in Philadelphia, hadn't lost a match all year, and he didn't lose that one. Then he had a very unlikely loss to Bodan Ulirak. He was beaten by Sergei Bruguera at the Lipton Championships, had a bad clay court season, actually, and then won Wimbledon. And this is his second match since then. So he paces himself well. And it is 2-all here in the first set.
Patrick Rafter said he's going to have to serve well. This is the motion that Cliff's talking about. He goes straight up into that back scratching position. Look, both arms up in the air. Then he drops that back down. Doesn't get quite the shoulder rotation on his serve. Again, see, not the shoulder rotation that Sampras gets, but it's a good delivery, and it's held him in good stead as a serve and volleyer. But he can go off a little bit, serve a few double faults with that one. But this match, you're going to see this again, this match in the end of September, when Australia play against the US in Davis Cup competition down in Washington, D.C.
Good point, Fred. Sort of a preview of that, isn't it? Because it's going to be one of the big matches. Sampras is going to play for the USA. And then Rafter will almost certainly play for, take a look at that, Sampras, Chang, Courier, possible selections. That has not been decided yet, but Australia will definitely have Rafter, Philippoussis, and the Woodies. And the Woodies, if you give them the win, that means that the U.S., and I don't suppose you can, especially if Sampras plays doubles, which I think he should, but you'd still have to give them the edge. Double fault. Love 30. And that means that the U.S. would have to win 3 out of 4 in singles, which would not be easy with Mark Phillip, who's, oh, he hasn't been playing too well.
No, he's got to get some, find some form between now and the U.S. Open.
Love 30.
Oh, just missed it. Played the right shot and went for the volley. That was, he wasn't defensive on the volley. Put the pressure on Sampras and just missed with the forehand volley long. See him practicing that shot again, saying, hey, I didn't need that big a swing at it.
Sampras actually, I think, is very good at keeping himself fresh. He doesn't rush around the world playing exhibition matches, chasing a few extra bucks. He doesn't need to. He's going to play here, then he's playing in Indianapolis next week, and we will be there.
I think that he now sort of paces himself, Cliff, so that in this very hot American summer, the tournaments leading up to the Open, he picks and chooses.
Sampras wins 3 in a row from love 30. It's now game point for him.
Good move from Sampras on this one. And he gets in this. Is the first volley. Runs forward then. Not quite the slam dunk overhead. He doesn't want that as yet. He's not in front far enough. You'll find that he likes to play that slam dunk overhead. Jumps up in the air with it. He sort of patented that shot.
Sampras holds on, and it is 3 games to 2 in the first set. He's taken on Patrick Rafter of Australia. The top seed here and the #1 player in the world, Sampras, 3 games to 2. Patrick Rafter of Australia, 2 games, so it's 3-2 in the first set. The fiery Fred Stolle from Australia talked to Australia's Patrick Rafter before the match.
Well, Patrick, you've had a terrific year this year. What really has turned things around for you?
I guess my mental outlook more than anything, Fred. I've sort of been a bit more relaxed and been putting in a lot of hard work as well, and just things have fallen into place.
Well, you've always been pretty fit and you've always worked hard. You had to do a little bit of extra work going into the French, according to Roche.
Yeah, it was funny, actually. I went to the French not knowing what I was going to expect. I just thought, another first round, I'm going home. I'll go over to the grass anyway. And I just went in that attitude, but I, gave myself 100, put 100% on the court, and things just happened for me and that I can't really explain.
Well, you've had a couple of great matches against Pete. What do you look forward to doing today?
I'm going to keep playing my game. I think that's the most important thing, and if it's working, then it's going to be a good match. If it's not working, Pete's going to show me who's the boss out there. So it's important that things work for me.
What do you think the most important element of your game is going to have to be today?
Well, I have to serve and volley very well. That's my game, and that's what I've got to have to do well. And I've got to keep it away from Pete's forehand as much as I can.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks, Fred.
Talk about serve and volley. Here will be another one from Patrick Rafter. He's trailing 2-3 first set. Rafter's having his best season on the ATP Tour. Got up to number 16 in the world in July. He seeded 16 here. Rafter got to 3 finals in Philadelphia. He lost to Sampras in Hong Kong, out to Chang in St. Pölten, that's in Austria. He beat Muster, that was on clay, before the French Championships, and then lost to Filippini, but he got to the French Open semi-final. That's his best result.
Yeah, Muster's the veteran in the championship. And the youngest player out here,
have we mentioned that
he's
he won
the
his
French
match?
Open champion.
Yeah, we did.
And that's Gustavo Kuerten. He's just 20. Muster is 29. Yeah, we mentioned the fact that Muster won. As did Kafelnikov over Rios.
Muster beat Martin Dam.
Talked about being cool here the last couple of days. It was warm on Monday. If you were with us on Monday, around about 96. It's now 98. You can see it there on the clock there. 98 degrees Fahrenheit on court. It's getting back up there. And whether we're normally used to having here in Cincinnati this time of the year.
Good overhead from Rafter. You're watching live coverage on ESPN of the Great American Insurance ATP Championships. Cliff Drysdale here, Fred Stolle alongside. This is set number 1. Pete Sampras, top player in the world, taking on Patrick Rafter of Australia in a preview of the Davis Cup match that will be viewed on ESPN if you tune in 2 weeks after the US Open. Sampras, 3 games all, first set, serving.
Good block return. That's a smart play. I think the serve and volleys or the chip and charges should do a lot more of that. I'd like to see Philippoussis try a lot more of that rather than the big swings that he engages in on the return of serve, particularly on the first serves. A block return down low is as good as anything you can do.
Like
Another
that.
one there. It then gives you an opportunity to hit your passing shot. And if you've got confidence in your passing shot, then that's all you should need. It's tough to try and hit an outright winner off a first serve from the Sampras racket.
Tell that to Andre Agassi, Fred. A lot of the guys, especially the two-handers, they're sort of forced to hit through the ball, aren't they?
He overran it. He was way past it. Here's the return. It's a high reply. Good effort to get this one back, but he anticipates it over there. Sampras doesn't hit it wide enough back down the middle of the court. Rafter was way past it. That's it. Fine return down low. When that volley is down low, the incoming volleyer can't really do a lot with it. He's got to pick a spot. He really just can't hit winners from it. Look at the position there of Rafter as he gets himself set for this passing shot. And it's a top spin back in. He played the little slice return, fooled Sampras with the passing shot.
Break point for Rafter again.
First break points of the match.
He went straight across court again, right into Sampras. Fred, I would have bet that he was going to go down the line because it looked like there was a hole down there.
Well, I think he was confident that he'd won the point before with that cross-court backhand, and when it's just at the start of the match and you haven't tried the other one, you go back to the one that you felt was the good shot, only he didn't get the angle on that.
That goes long. Sampras has a game point. Actually, Sampras he was down love 30, wasn't he, in the last serve game of his? Didn't get to a break point, but he has had to struggle on his own serve. Remember the last time they played in Philadelphia, Rafter won the first set. They had an early break in the second. Sampras has beaten him 4 straight times. Out. Well played. Good point.
Well, Rafter's fit. He did a lot of running there, a lot of road work. Good touch from Sampras on the half volley. He just plays a little angle there, gets Sampras out of court. That one down the line just misses the sideline. Well, that's a good second serve. That one's 86 mile an hour, right down the middle of the court, right in the corner. Jumped as it hit the court. Good kick serve. That's the one that you were looking for, Cliff. executed that time. Sampras looking again for the cross court. Stays down and through this one. It's not close to the sideline, which means that Sampras was looking for the one cross court. Broken string. He does a lot of them. He brings about 6-8 rackets a day, gets them strung every day, Sampras. But with the change of the weather here, I was out in the practice court this morning with both Philippoussis and Rafter, and actually Rafter popped a string without even hitting the ball, and Philippoussis just on a slice backhand popped the string. So they play with a very light gauge gut now, and
meaning thin, right?
A very thin gut, and they break a lot of strings.
Deuce. Trying to attack the serve and sails a little long. Interesting. I mean, he's made up his mind that that's what he's got to do. And you know what? I agree with him. I think that's exactly the way to play if you're going to beat Sampras.
Tension that these boys use on their rackets varies, but it's up. I think we were here when one of the boys sent one away the other day. I think it was Courier, and wanted to string at 70 pounds. It's relatively pretty tight.
Sampras holds on. It is 4-3 at the ATP Championships, and just across I-71. This is Cincinnati's version of Paris's Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower here at Kings Island.
The best tennis players in the world play on the ATP Tour. And like all great competitors, they disagree on just about everything. Which tournaments to play, surfaces, line calls, playing styles, even which language to argue in. But there is one thing they do agree on. The ball. The Penn ATP Tour ball. Bringing harmony to professional tennis.
Last night in very pleasant weather here in Cincinnati, the ATP Stadium. Pete Sampras in his first match since winning Wimbledon took on Justin Gimelstob of the USA, 19 years old. Here's Gimelstob approaching the net, and a clean winner from Sampras, and he wins the first set, 6-2.
Gimelstob could not believe that running forehand. He hit a good half volley on that shot. Came up dry.
Then Sampras in the second set, relatively easy winners. It's 6-4. So it was a pleasant evening for Sampras. It was a pleasant evening weather-wise, and the tournament continues. Now a look at Sampras receiving the serve of Patrick Rafter live this Thursday afternoon. It's 4:10 in the afternoon on the East Coast.
Good net coverage. Boy, Sampras played an unbelievable backhand when Rafter didn't do enough with that first forehand stroke. And Rafter really stretching well here. There's the slice backhand. Look at that stretch. Now he knows he's got to go cross court. Can he get there? He's there in plenty of time. And then Sampras. And Sampras is pretty quick around the court. He couldn't make that volley. If you're a serve and volleyer, you've got to be able to recover at the net. Here's the first one there. He hits this forehand, cracks it, but down the middle of the court. Then he thinks he's going to look for an easy one. Look at that stretch there. You've got to prop and then hustle back across the other side and still maintain your balance.
Love, game points for Rafter. Served well so far. Actually, a little dicey first game, and it's been good since then.
Rafter's got a lot of good people around him now. John Fitzgerald, who you might remember, a great Davis Cup player and a great doubles player in his own right, travelled with him through Wimbledon. He's playing some of the senior tour matches now. Tony Roach is the Davis Cup coach who also helps him.
Talking about the Australians and their potential in the Davis Cup, Fred, you guys have got some serious contenders now. You've got Philippoussis, Rafter, and Woodbridge is no slouch these days in the singles department, semi-finalist at Wimbledon. And then Stoltenberg had a great summer season a couple of years ago, and Scotty Draper.
Yep, there's a lot of them out there, and looking forward to a terrific match. There's a lot of interest in that match as far as the businesses and that down in Washington area, all the Australian businesses in this country are concerned.
So tennis is thriving in Australia. Any explanation for that?
Well, it's pretty good because we have some top players now that are doing well, like Rafter, Philippoussis, and the rest of them. And when the Australian Open is on, there's a lot of live coverage on television throughout the country. We televise all the Grand Slams. Wimbledon is probably one of the biggest events as far as television in Australia is concerned. The Spectator, they turn them on at 10 o'clock at night and stay up all night to watch them.
With a couple of tinnies in each hand.
Yep, a couple of tinnies, yeah. Nothing wrong with that. You get to see some good matches that way.
All.
Sampras just questioning that call.
Kafelnikov, a winner over Rios earlier. Costa over Correia.
Yeah, Correia is seated number 4 here, and Costa number 14. So, battle of the Spaniards.
That goes long at 15:30 again. Sampras struggling on his serve.
He was forced to play that one because Rafter never moved from that forehand side, and normally Sampras would go cross-court with that forehand. He was forced there to go over the high part of the net, and the topspin just didn't bring it in quick enough.
Well, he's trying that slice down to the feet. 30 all in this game. Correia losing to Costa. Costa's played well, you know. He's escaped a couple of traps, and now he's looking good. Thomas Muster over Martin Dam, a very close match as well. And then the one I already mentioned, Kafelnikov, also winner. So was Pertan over Vince Spadia.
Well, Sampras continues to get out of trouble on serve. He has struggled, but like the champion he is, he rips that one at 126 miles an hour right down the middle to get him to game point again.
Nice serve from Sampras, and he holds on, although not that comfortably, against Patrick Rafter yet. 5 games to 4 on serve first set. Pete Sampras is a classy guy. He's leading by 5 games to 4. This man here is on the tour board of the ATP, making the decisions for tennis, some of them anyway. Paul Annacone. He also is Pete Sampras' coach. Rafter serving, trailing 4-5.
Fine serve from Rafter. That's his only ace so far, though. Sampras has had 3.
Sergei Bruguera and Yuri Novak on the grandstand court at the moment. We'll fill you in on their result. They are 3 games all in the first set now. Tonight, a couple of very interesting matches. On the grandstand court, you have Goran Ivanisevic and Jan Simmerink. And then on the stadium, it'll be Michael Chang and Andrei Medvedev. That match on the deuce.
Good serving game from Rafter here. 40 love. 4 first serves in.
No breaks to serve against Rafter, have there been, Fred? No break points, I mean.
No break points against him.
Pretty solid serving against Pete Sampras. 5 games all first set.
He's won his last 3 service games to love. Only lost 4 points on serve in the opening set. So far, he's had 5 service games. been tracking serve directions here in both these players. Let's have a look and see what Pete Sampras has done on the deuce court. He's gone out wide 36% of the time, down the middle 42%. So he's trying to get to the backhand, and at the body 22%. And on the ad court, well, down the middle, that's his favourite serve, that one, 43% of the time, and he's kicked it out there 37% of the time. There's that one we just talked about, where he served more times on the deuce court right down the middle. That one hit the line, skidded away. That's why Sampras lost control of the little slice that he was attempting. Good return this one if you can keep it down low to Sampras's forehand. I think he's better off the backhand volley than he is off the forehand side. That one he was a little careless with and pushed it wide. Now let's see if Rafter makes a move here on the second serve.
Very well played. You know, he's an excellent volleyer, and he has got himself a set point here.
And that's a good bluff on this one, because there was nothing on the approach, but he guessed, and he guessed the right spot. Couldn't get much on the volley, but he'll take it. Gives him a set point. Actually, it's a break point, not a set point. So Sampras again, good close on the volley, saves a break point. And this is what makes him a champion. Three-quarter pace serve, charges that. It's up round shoulder height. He does not miss those.
He took that split step way behind the service line then, Fred, and then you can see them moving in. It's well played. It's a good lesson, that, actually. Now he's got a game point. Yeah, I said set point earlier. It was break point, as you pointed out, Fred. Might have been set point, though, as well as Patrick Rafter's been serving. And again, Sampras comes back. He has continued to struggle on his serve, but somehow he hangs on. 6-5, first set. Pete Sampras leading 6-5. Patrick Rafter to serve. Let's check on the serve directions of the Australian, Freddie.
Well, he's gone out 32% of the forehand, and he mentioned he wants to keep that ball away from the Sampras point if he can. So down to the backhand, 39%, and into the body. That's the one the serve and volleyer should play a lot against Pete Sampras, so he doesn't get that angle. You get a look at a volley. And Patrick Rafter's first serve, when he gets that first serve in play, he's won 92% of the points. That's 11 out of 12. He's got 12 first serves in. He's won 11 of those points. This is where you expect the champion to pick it up a bit here, put a little bit of added pressure on.
And the sun is right in Rafter's eye, too. Check these directions here, Fred, in the ad court.
This is what he does in the ad court. He goes out to the backhand again, keeping away from that forehand, so that he has a good look at the volley. 22% straight at the body, 36 down the middle. Play that backhand, you get a look at it and move well like Rafter does, then you have an open court to try and get Sampras on the run with the volley, like this. That's exactly what he's looking to do.
All.
I think Sampras would have had to take his eye off the ball to miss that one, because he'd done all the hard work. Rafter again with good net coverage. scrambles it back, but an opportunity missed on that backhand volley.
That's well played, isn't it? Closed in well. Look where he was by the time he made that volley. Not more than 8 feet from the net. And if you're that close, then...
Throws a kick serve in here to get this. That's where you can see where Sampras, he had to slice it up round head high. But this is perfectly played. If he kept it inside that service line or around that, that would have been a good shot of a running forehand for Sampras.
Game point to get into a tiebreak first set. 40-15. So a tiebreak will decide the first set. First to 7 points with a 2-point lead will win it. They had a close one last time they played in Philadelphia. It looks like, for all the world, this one's going to be a close one as well. They played a tiebreak for the second set in Philadelphia. That one won by Sampras after he lost the first set.
48 minutes it's taken to get to the tiebreak situation.
Double fault. 1 to Rafter. They'll change ends after 6 points. And Rafter's on the tough side at the moment.
Second double fault from Sampras racket. Good serve there, right at the body. Sampras couldn't get a swing at it. Got to return up high.
2 to Rafter.
What he didn't want.
Traded double fault.
Yep. Sampras served a double fault the first point. Rafter questioned the call that he missed his first serve. It was a close one. They have caused a little concentration lapse. Back on serve. Great volley. Well played right into the corner.
Now 2 points all. That was an opportunity lost.
Yeah, the net cord sort of set it up for him.
Absolutely.
And he had time. He ran around his backhand to try and make that forehand, but just didn't bend the knees. And frustration sets in there. They bounce pretty good, those rackets these days.
He deserves that that racket toss, I tell you, because that was a bad miss. 3-2. Sampras in the lead. They will change ends with Sampras up 4-2, and Fred, it's more important, isn't it, for Patrick Rafter to win this. If Sampras wins the set, he could run this thing out quickly. Remember the last time they played, it was Rafter who won the first set, then Sampras won the next two.
Yeah, it often happens when you get the great players and they win the first one in a tiebreaker. You get a little frustrated because Rafter obviously is the underdog here. He's the 16th seed going against the #1 seed.
And he's had more chances in the
He's had a few opportunities, and if he loses this, then you start to think about it, and 3 or 4 games are gone before you wake up.
Oof, he let it go, and it was very close to being called in.
That lines judge took a long time to put that arm out. And Norm Chris said, no, it was long.
And it wasn't like it was close either.
And it was slow. It wasn't that it was hit with any pace. It just floated back there.
A little choke there by the linesperson. 4-3, Sampras. 5-3, Sampras.
That's a smart serve from Sampras again. He threw in the kicker there, forcing Rafter to play the slice back in. Anything up around shoulder height, you've got to slice it back into court.
Now he has set points. Rafter will serve 2 and Sampras another 1. And if he wins any of those, he is the winner of the set. That's 1. 2 to go. 6-4 in the tiebreak.
He's only just around 49% on first serves, Rafter. Sampras just a little bit better at 53, so neither man really doing the job on the first serve.
Not happy with that one. Norm Chris has called it, and he's called the score, so Patrick might as well go ahead and get on with it. Patrick Rafter refuses to move, but he's going to have to take it. First set to Sampras in the tiebreak. Here it is on the replay. Sampras, the winner of the set.
Now you can get into tennis with no strings attached, because now when you subscribe to Tennis Magazine, we're going to give you the first issue of Tennis risk-free and send you a free carry-all bag.
When I pick up Tennis Magazine, I get excited that I'm going to learn something new that I can go out and apply on the court the very next day.
Subscribe for just $19.77 a year. Call now and get this carry-all bag and the first issue risk-free.
Order Tennis Magazine now. 800-637-2000.
Sunday night, Ken Griffey Jr., the Seattle Slugger who only has eyes for the upper deck and a division crown. White Sox Mariners, the Sunday night baseball game of the week. Sunday at 8, only on ESPN.
Hi, Chris Myers here in Los Angeles. Join me later today. We'll talk tennis with the #1 player in the game right now, Martina Hingis, up close at 6 Eastern.
First point, second set. You're watching live coverage of the Great American Insurance ATP Championships. We're in Mason, Ohio, a suburb of Cincinnati, just across the street from Kings Island, actually. And I'm sure a lot of people in Ohio, not just this area, have come to this area. You are watching Sampras and Rafter. 7-6 tiebreak, first set to Sampras. This is the second point of the second set.
This is exactly what we're talking about. And the champions get through and struggle. May have been a call there that Sampras got to win that first set. He'd have possibly won it anyhow. But now, if he can do this, this is for love 30. That one up around chest high. He comes up over the top of that one. And win at 7-6 in the early break in the second could destroy Rafter's hopes. Good serve.
You know, you talk about the great game of Sampras, and you read all these stories on Sampras and the fact that he's boring to watch play, and it nonpluses me. I cannot figure where I think somebody wrote it years ago, and then, you know, one guy writes it and the others think, well, gee, maybe he is boring. It's crazy. The guy's a great shot maker, and you don't need, you know, guys running around.
Unfortunately, it's media-driven, isn't it?
It is, but in this case, it's
not
wrong,
with us, though.
Expletives and stuff like that from players and questioning calls, that's nonsense. If tennis needs that, then we're in trouble. It doesn't. This guy is the greatest of his time and maybe of all time. And to watch him play is extraordinary.
3 double faults now from Rafter, and he's in trouble. 2 break points in this opening game. And you can see the frustration setting in where he whacked that ball down on the court.
Sampras can do everything. Stay back, come in, serve aces.
That's just a brilliant game.
That goes wide. Sampras has the break. First game of the second. His first break of the match, actually. Sampras started out as a baseliner. Now he's a big hitter. Welcome back, everybody. Cliff Drysdale and Fred Solly at the Great American Insurance ATP Championships. Sampras winning the first set, and he leads by 1 game to love with a break in the second.
Sampras getting back there ready to serve with a service break. He's come good in that tiebreaker. He rattled off a few points. He's won 11 of the last 14 points that have been played. And this is where Rafter has to be pretty careful.
He got it. Love 15.
Rafter just thanking a guy up there now. He'd rather have the other one, the volley. That was a very close one.
Sampras won his first Grand Slam title. That was after Pete had watched Michael Chang win the French Championships in '89.
He didn't expect to win the U.S. Open that year, did he?
No, he was only 19. In fact, he was the youngest player ever. He still is the youngest player ever to have won the U.S. Open. Then he wins it another 3 times. He's won Wimbledon 4 times. He's won the Australian Open twice. The only one he hasn't won is the French. And when history judges him, Freddie, if they claim that he's not the best ever, it'll be because he didn't win the French. Of course, he may still win the French. 1 hour old, the match.
Well,
but it's increasingly unlikely.
Bjorn Borg never won the U.S. Open. John McEnroe never won the French.
Borg
John
never
Newcombe
won the Australian either.
No. A lot of the great ones missed out on one of those 4 Grand Slam titles. Van Lendl won everything except Wimbledon.
Right. Game point. Sampras is ahead by 2 games to love in the second, and he won the first. Colorado is led by Paul Bravo among the top 10 in scoring. It is Major League Soccer, New England Revolution, and the Colorado Rapids on ESPN2 Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 7 o'clock out on the West Coast.
Rafter has to stop the rot. He must win this service game, bear down. He knows it. He's had enough experience to know that. Tough to win titles out there. Sampras has won 48 of them. This young man, Patrick Rafter, has won 1. That's on the ATP Tour. What's the angle of the racket here when he makes this one? He usually opens the face of the racket way open on that backhand side, but it's a very firm wrist, and he gets away with it.
That one he won too, Fred, was 94. It was a long time ago on grass in Manchester. But he's been a solid, consistent performer. Rafter holds on. They will change hands. 2 games to 1. Sampras leads. He'll serve with a break in the second, and he won the first in the tiebreak.
Pete Sampras won the first set in the tie-break. He leads by 2-1, and he'll serve coming up. We were talking about soccer just a minute ago. Worldwide soccer on the deuce before the Colorado game that we were talking about. That will be Saturday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a terrific show. You know, I was thinking about Lamar Hunt when we were talking about soccer, because he's in the Soccer Hall of Fame, he's in the Tennis Hall of Fame, he's in the Football Hall of Fame. He started the AFL.
He's done an unbelievable amount for sport.
He did a lot for tennis. Started World Championship tennis. He's done a lot for soccer. In fact, there was a soccer league a few years ago that he was responsible for starting, which failed. This one is going to be great, I believe. Anyway, Sampras, 2-1, and he won the first set, and he's serving.
Well, that's a good return. Sampras looking for the slice backhand down the line. That's the first one. Rafter plays doubles off the deuce court, and he uses this shot a lot. You just block that one back away from the body. Rafter can't believe the calls. That's two. That's from the same line judge that made the call on the sideline.
People for missing some of them, we really don't, but there have been, I think, an inordinate number of questionable calls in this tournament. I mean, on a hard court, it doesn't leave a mark, and the guys are hitting the ball so hard. And in tennis, unlike other sports, there's a call to be made so many times. I mean, every time the ball bounces, you got to make a decision about whether it was in or out. That one was beautifully played and well in. And now Sampras is looking at a couple of break points.
Rafter there on this one's innovative topspin lob. He doesn't play too many of those. That one gets over Sampras' head, caught him by surprise.
So he saves another one.
Comes up when he's been down first break points. He's been able to come up with that first serve. Rafter's had 4 break point opportunities.
It hasn't broken yet. Can't really talk about Rafter, Fred, unless you talk about, in a minute, elbow soreness and wrist surgery that he's had. He's had quite a few injuries, actually, for a strong young guy. There's the breaker serve for Rafter, and he's back on serve now at 2-all in the second. As we said, a few chances, but no conversions until this moment.
Stayed down well on this. Look how that left knee is nearly on the ground when he makes that one. It's so low over the net. Watch it again. Stay down. Put your weight on that front foot. Stay there. Stay down. Shot.
Love Rafter. 2-all, second set.
And you know at the weekend, Kings Island is going to be busy, busy. This time of the year, folks come from all over the place to have weekends here with their kids. Very popular vacation spot. He catches this forehand, return goes back, gets it out early. You got to get that one early if you're going to go back down the line. Sampras did.
Patrick Rafter is an Australian Davis Cup player, and this young man has had a stellar career. He's one of 9 children from Australia. He's home now, Pembroke, Bermuda. He spent some time there. He's 24 years old, ranked number 19. He's seeded 16 in this tournament. Great field at the ATP Championships, and a very good record this year, being a semi-finalist for the first time in a Grand Slam at the French Championships. With that comes some prize money as well.
They just didn't do enough with the volley. Got that volley down the middle. Disgusted with that effort again is Rafter. Sampras is so quick to jump on those opportunities. He knows he's won the first set, just lost his last service game. He wanted another break. He has 2 chances at it now.
Serving into the sun. Oh, that's, you know what, he was lucky there. I think that might have gone wide, but it hit the tape. That bounced it to the right, and Sampras gets the break. You got to hand it to Rafter, though. He has not changed his game plan. He has just kept boring into the net. He's down a set in the break again. It is 3-2, Sampras leading, and he won the first set. Let's head out now to the grandstand court from the stadium court. And as we transition over there, let me tell you that you're about to watch Jiří Novák taking on Sergi Bruguera. Tie-break first set. The score 5 points all. Bruguera's the number 6 seed.
Novak serving.
Oh, and he wrong puts him. And Bruguera has a set point at 6-5 on his serve now. Bruguera, French Open finalist this year. In the losing effort to Gustavo Kuerten.
One of the many Spaniards in the top 20. There's 5, I think, in the top 20 now.
Yep, 5. Bruguera for the set.
Very short motion on the serve. A sneaky quick serve, Bruguera.
That goes long, and it is the first set to the Spaniard over Jiří Novák of the Czech Republic. Let's get back now to the stadium court. We'll keep you updated on what happens out there in the grandstand, but back to the Great American Insurance Major Center Court, and this is Pete Sampras, USA, Patrick Rafter, Australia in this game, 15-30, 3-2. Sampras ahead in games, and he won the first set. Important to point out, Fred, that while the first set there was a tiebreak and there were no breaks of serve, that it was Rafter who had all the chances to break and didn't.
Three-quarter court there for Rafter. He had to guess. The topspin lob went up in the air. It was a miss-hit. Sampras did a good job. Caught Rafter out of the corner of his eye and pushed it back into the forehand. There it is. Crowd love that one. He does that when he's in front, and he's in front now with a first set under his belt and a service break into the second set. What's this one? Look at this leap.
Lovely.
It requires terrific timing to do that.
He's just a couple of 2-3 feet in the air. Sampras holds on. It's 4-2.
Warm conditions out there. We've talked about everything else with Sampras except possibly the heat. And he has been known under very warm conditions for the heat to get to him. He gets pretty dehydrated.
Happened last year at the US Open, actually.
Rafter starting to press a little on serve. Now it's 4 double faults.
Thanks, Fred. He says he suffers from something called mild anemia. It causes him to tire faster than the average player. That goes long. It is 15 all. I don't know. I'm told that this is an inherited blood condition that's common among people with Mediterranean heritage, and he has Greek heritage.
That's what the medical folks tell you.
Anyway, he struggles through, as he did against Correggio last year.
At the Open.
Yeah. That is a great volley from the Australian, and he's got 30-15 in this game. But it is a much, much kinder week weather-wise than it is normally in the U.S. summer circuit.
Up around about 98 down there today. Watch this. Rafter doesn't even smile when he makes this one. This is an unbelievable volley. It's a racket work again. It just happened to be in the right spot at the right time to create that sort of an angle.
That one he steers long. 30-all. This is a critical moment for Rafter. He has broken Sampras once in the second set, but he in turn has been broken twice. He needs to hold on to keep his hopes alive. Game point, Rafter. The Australian Open this year, Pete Sampras put Carlos Moya, surprise finalist, in his place. He beat him 2-3 and 3. No trouble at all. And he turned the Wimbledon final into a rout as well over another surprise finalist, Cedric Pioline, the Frenchman. He beat him 4-2 and 4. Rafter holds on. He's still alive, barely though, because Sampras has got the break in the second. It is 4-3 Sampras. First set Sampras in the tiebreak. You're watching the Great American Insurance ATP Championships. Let's fill you in on what's happened so far. No breaks to serve in the first set. Pete Sampras taking on Patrick Rafter of Australia. Sampras from the USA. He won it in the tiebreak. And then in the second set, it was Sampras who got out to an early lead and then lost his serve. He was very quick to break back. Again, he has stayed in front since then, and he leads 4-3 now and will serve. Over on the grandstand court, we've got Yuri Novak and Sergi Bruguera. First set to Bruguera. Novak has won the first game of the second. No. Easy look at that one, but it's tailed.
He lifted up as he hit that because he could see Rafter making the move cross-court. Rafter did a good job to jump at the first volley. Just barely got it back over there.
Sampras beat Becker at Wimbledon, and Becker, when he shook his hand, just said, "I've had enough. I'm going to play Wimbledon again because I don't think I can win it." 4-setter, though. Great volley. Sampras has game point.
Interesting what Korea said in the paper this week about Becker doing that. He said, hey, you know, he's the second best grass courter over there. If something happens to Sampras, he's got a big opportunity to win another Wimbledon. He thinks he's crazy to try and do that.
Actually, I agree with that. I mean, absent Sampras, I think Becker does have a shot at winning Wimbledon. That sails. Still game point for Sampras, 40-30. Sampras holds on. He's got a 5-3 lead now in the second set. If you just tuned in, let's fill you in on what has been happening. This is your Union Camp match summary, Fred.
Well, Sampras shows you what a champion he is. He's had 2 breakpoint opportunities, won them both. Rafter's had 5 and won 1. Net points won there. Sampras, Rafter's been a lot more times than Sampras, so both of them attacking at pretty much every opportunity. But Sampras has had those unreturnable serves that have got him out of a lot of trouble.
Thought that breakpoint statistic is an interesting one for Sampras. Has had fewer chances, but he's taken them all. We're at the Mercedes Super 9 Great American ATP Championships. Round of 16. This is for a place in the quarterfinals. Sampras and Patrick Rafter. 30 love Rafter. 5-3 Sampras. Sampras just 4 games away from a place in the last 8. Did I say 4 games? 4 points.
Nice little backhand volley, angle volley there from Rafter, again with good net position. And very fit, right in on top of the net for that one.
Rafter holds on, so it is 5-4 now. Sampras will serve. What's at stake is a place in the quarterfinals and a continuation of the great year that the #1 player in the world has had so far, winning 2 Grand Slams already. Sampras won the first set in the tiebreak. There were no breaks to serve in that set. In the second set, we've already seen 3. 2 of them Sampras got against Rafter's serve. Now he's serving for the match in a place in the last 8 of this year's Great American Insurance ATP Championships. It has a great history. This has always been an ATP Tour event. And in my opinion, will continue to be a major for the foreseeable future. The organizers here make investments in this facility every year. Now we have this stadium. We've got the 5,000-seat grandstand, and then #2 court of 2,000. Here's a look at Sampras's volley again, and then the forehand that puts it away. 15 love. $15-all now. The winner of this will take on Yevgeny Kafelnikov in the next round. He took out Marcelo Rios, the Chilean, a #9 seed earlier today on this court. $15-all. Yeah, that's too good. You heard that from Rafter. Sampras plays fearlessly these days. As a man who understands exactly what his ability level is, I think he thinks in his own mind that he's a level above the rest of the field. match point for Sampras. Add Sampras' name to the quarterfinalists here. Kafelnikov is the man that he'll play next. Albert Costa, a winner over Correia. Thomas Muster, a winner earlier today. Also, Gustavo Querten, the number 10 seed from Brazil, is through.